You don't look like a Ghanaian. You need to be here, brother. Get on the plane.
Joe, I'm serious. I've been looking at plane tickets. I actually found some KLM. They have some decent deals.
KLM?
It's Dutch, the Delta part did.
United has direct flights out of Dulles. I take off at 7 p.m., land at 9 a.m. And when I go back, I take off here at 10 p.m. and land at 5:30 a.m.
Gone for my first time. What does the airport look like? Customs, what is that like?
So when you land on the plane, you walk off the plane, there's probably 8 to 10 people there to welcome you and guide you through the process. First, they verify that you have your yellow fever vaccination. So that's the first stop. You stop and they show them your yellow fever card and they take a look at it. And then they said, go on down your way. Then you go down to my next stop is to duty free because, I got to hit the duty free. The bottle of Nectar Rosé was $48, $56 this time. But still in Washington, D.C., I'll drive across town to pay that.
So I know we are talking about the airport. You having gone before the tariffs and now after, how do you feel like that's playing into the global economy and impacting Africa?
I was watching a local news program with a local African economist, and he suggested that the tariffs will cost the continent of Africa $9 trillion in GDP this year. One of my biggest concerns is the exchange rate. The value of the dollar has fallen in just a few weeks. When I visited Ghana in February, I came February 20th to March 4th, the exchange rate at that time was 15.5 CDs per US dollar. Now the US dollar is only 13.9 CDs per dollar. So your dollar just doesn't go as far. I carry a roll of hundreds, and every time I talk to somebody, give them 100. Things here economically are so cheap. You get in the car and the person drives you to the beach and it's a 15-minute ride. And essentially you're paying him 30 CDs, 40 CDs. So $2. Think about that. You get in an Uber or Lyft in America, you pay $30. Then with congestion pricing, and if it's raining, you pay $40 a ride, 15 minutes, 20 minutes in DC. The other biggest impact I've seen here just in the short distance difference in the time I was here in February versus now is I decided to cook all my meals. I went to the ShopRite store. They have different products and mostly European brands in terms of things like some of the cheeses and other things, but they had some inflation. So things like I was buying, like I buy a whole chicken cut up and I paid 122 CDs, about $7. I love the vegetables here. I can buy a whole thing of squash, carrots, onions, all chopped up, just drop it in the pan like a stir fry, put a little chili, some seasoning in it and let it cook up. But I want to get back to the process you were talking about with the airport, because I think it's really interesting. So when you come down, after you show your yellow fever vaccination card, you can go to the next customs station. And that customs spot, that's immigration, right? So they want to see your passport, what country you're from. Say, Ghanaians go to lines on the right, American or the foreigners on the left, quick process. It didn't take more than 2 minutes, except they do fingerprint you, all 4 fingers and thumb on your right hand. They had taken my fingerprints when I was here in February. I popped right up in the system. The final stop is after you pick up your luggage. They want to know if you have anything to declare. What do you have? So it's just funny. You've got my bag. It says, what has been here? My clothes, a computer, my eyeglass, my sunglasses, about 5 pairs of all my electronics. She says, you don't have nothing to declare? What do I need to declare? It's not clear what they're looking for or what duty you have to pay. Normally when I travel overseas, if I'm going to Jamaica, Mexico, they'll give you a declarations page on the plane and you fill it out and then you declare what you may have to, and then you give it to them. If you don't tell the truth, you can get in trouble. I love the fact that they asked me a few times. It was different flying in the morning because when I landed at 9 a.m., there were a lot of dignitaries, military escorting people out of the airport, just a lot of activity. There was a guy, the real estate agents in there. They had big murals of properties for sale and the guy trying to schedule you to visit the properties and see their inventory. The first thing I said to him, I got from a video I watched online. It was a Ghanaian woman who was mad and said, why are they pricing homes here in US dollars now? Instead of in the CDs, they could sell it for a bigger price. In our mind, we see a 4-bedroom house in America. Shit, I'm gonna pay $500,000 for that. Oh, but for the end, it's like, are you crazy? just the way the economy is. They're walking around, taking your name, look at your clothes, shoes, your suitcases, and they're trying to figure out, is he a buyer? Is he somebody I want to bring in? You can look at me 5 minutes, I'm from America, right? But here, and all my colors I'm wearing, it's light, bright colors, they're looking at me. So when you come out of the airport, as you can imagine, there's any number of jokers who want to walk to you and grab your cart and push you. You know, let me get that luggage for you, sir. You need ride. Guys literally try to hustle you to get your suitcase in the trunk and then want $20. I'm like, I used an Uber. Ubers pull into the airport parking lot. They have to pay a parking fee every time they go in and out of the airport. I got big suitcases and the car's very small. I'm a big man. You know, I got to make sure you got space to get in and get out. I chose for comfort because I wanted to ride in the air conditioning. I've been paying an extra 7 CDs everywhere I go so I can have air conditioning when I ride. And sometimes you need, sometimes you don't. I haven't tried the motorcycle taxis yet. I'm not willing to live that dangerously. As big as I am, if I get to lean into the right, how's he going to keep control with me on the back of the I don't need that. I found my Uber. It took the bit, had to be 95 degrees. It was in the 90s. And I mean, the sun was blazing. When I got there at 9 o'clock in the morning, that sun was blazing. In America, you go through this transition at dusk and dawn. It feels like 1 minute there's light and the next minute it's dark. Most of the drivers, though, that I've had here in terms of ground transportation, they're nice people. Only one driver tried to gouge me. I was going to give him the number he asked for, but now he don't get a tip. Usually to ride to the beach, it's 30 or 40 CDs. I usually give him 70 or 80 CDs, the equivalent of $4, $5. I only had one driver coming from the movies. The driver, we get in the car, he doesn't turn on the music. He just riding, right? Because he hit me with the where I told him we're going to a club called Sandbox, which is at the beach, not Boston, Body Beach. There's another club called Sandbox. And I sent you pictures of it. It's a beautiful place. All of the neon lights, the sand, the ocean. You're about 25 to 30 feet above the ocean, looking down onto the water. It's outdoors, sand, a great place. I can't think of a better place for young Black HBCU students to celebrate spring break. This place can accommodate you and make you feel at home. You're going to get your passport, learn about the world coming here. There had to be 8 clubs in a row. Beach chairs, an umbrella, they sit you down and bring you a music box. You bring a boom box, connect Bluetooth, play your own music. At every table, people are playing their own music. I'm playing stuff they never heard. I got some Sam Henshaw, Northeast Groovers, Chuck Brown. I'm going deep into my playlist, playing stuff, and we just all grooving, having a good time. To be honest, I haven't felt anyone trying to gouge me on prices.
How do you feel being a Black American man, a Ghana versus a Black man in America?
I feel welcome here. I've not gone anywhere where I don't feel at peace, where I don't feel welcome. As a Black man from America, I spent years focused on one goal after the next. Assimilation, integration, just trying to get myself. I go to a company and I just want to integrate myself into that work culture. You and I both know this. We code switch situationally, every business meeting, every introduction, just the way you shake hands and look people in the eye as a Black man, you have to adapt to that culture in America. When I walk down the street, I recognize that a lot of people want to sell me things as justice. You want to buy a t-shirt, a trinket, that's capitalism in its purest form. In terms of being here, people see me. I try to always be welcoming and kind, say something nice, something positive. I don't know if they understand. As a Black man in Accra, Bob Marley is a superstar, a giant, a legend. If you listen to Concrete Jungle, if you listen to Udom Cap Fit, if you listen to War, you start thinking about his connection to Zion. They wanted to leave Babylon. Jamaica and America is Babylon. Africa is Zion. And I want to go to the mountaintop and be here. It's a sense of feeling ease. I look at police differently. I'll even think about police pulling me over or harass. Hello, sir. How are you? I'm from America. There's just a sense of tension you don't have here. Yesterday, there was a white family at the beach. This guy was selling t-shirts. He walked by, they didn't pay him no mind. He turned around and left. I wanted to see his jerseys. He comes by and he says, what size do you have? He says, I have 3X. I'm gonna go get it. On the way, it goes into this whole salesmanship with the white family. The lady is tapping him, saying, hey, you need to go over to this customer. But he didn't come right away. So you know what? I picked out the 5 shirts I wanted. So listen, my money is green, is it not? They didn't call you, but you wanted to run over there and sell to them and leave me. I definitely was feeling like that's an example of white privilege that you shouldn't have to go through here, you know? And and the thing is, I think the woman bought one little thing. You over there working that hard for her? I'm gonna give you above the price for these shirts. I'm gonna pay you more and buy a lot of them. So I want to show you the shirts. This one is my favorite. It's in our mission. Supremacy of God. A Dubsky Beauvoir Museum. I didn't know Dubois had spent so much time in China and Asia. There were a lot of gifts from the government of Japan, the government of China, pictures of him with Mao and other leaders. I didn't know that this was a symbol of God and its meaning. I just want to show you some more jerseys and shirts I ended up buying from him, just to keep some perspective. I got one for you. I got all these shirts. You negotiated the price. I paid 1,100 CDs, which works out to be $16 a shirt. It was good cotton. I'm really happy about it. But the experience that I was wanting to mention was how I wasn't going to let that slight pass. And I kind of was offended. One guy, his brother, he looked like he just walked straight out of the forest or from the mountains in Jamaica. Dreads hanging down, eyes blazing, skin brown. I was thinking to myself, this is the picture. If you would think about what does a true African look like in terms of his dreads and his brown skin. And like you can tell it kissed by the sun, like skin has just been bronzed over time. I wanted to take his picture. It was just one of those moments. I just told him thank you. But for the white family, the people were jumping in their face. The son-in-law from Ghana never stood up for them, never told the people get away, leave us alone. Just said stoic. I couldn't figure it out. Being a father and a husband, you take care of those around you. And it just was an odd dynamic watching them. What else you got?
We started reading The Souls of Black Folk, where you mentioned to him that experience as a Black American. It was interesting because it's in line with double consciousness and the veils. What I was understanding as you were talking is what you were experiencing as a Black man, how they were not wanting to sell to you, was similar to what you would get from maybe a white shopkeeper in America. Seeing yourself as a Black person, being treated as a quote unquote Black person, but not by a white person. Ghana is a majority Black. And I'm curious, if we were to give every Black person citizenship and send them back, how do you think Black Americans and Ghanaians would interact or intermingle? What would society look like to you?
Let me say that you were going somewhere on the interactions with the salesman, and Frances Cress Welsing in the ISIS papers, she talks about the fact that in America, we are culturally conditioned to believe white is superior and Black is inferior. And the manifestation of that cultural conditioning is that we systematically undervalue, underestimate, and marginalize the contributions of our people. Even here in Africa, they have that same cultural awareness where they see white people in white skin. I've seen a lot of 50-something-year-old white men, Europeans, walking around with young, brown, beautiful Black African women. I see them in the grocery store. I see them here. I see them there. When I think about what society may look like, I think one of the things that we have to do is expand our cultural understanding, our awareness of Black Americans. I think sometimes we can be very closed-minded. And I'll give you this example. As I was talking to my friends about the homes that I was looking at, their questions were, is it a dirt road? They emphasize the minimum rather than understanding the broader economic opportunity. For example, how's the water infrastructure? How are the roads? How's the electricity? As we come to this culture, we would have to not be the ugly American. We would have to lose that arrogance that we have in America. It's insult to those other cultures. You minimize those other cultures when you have that American exceptionalism attitude. So my first prayer would be that when we come here, we understand we're coming to a new culture, a new country, a new history, a new language, a new set of commerce. Everything is different, and it's up to us to adapt to their culture and see where we can fit into their culture. It's not up to us to come here and try and change the culture. I hope there wouldn't be friction between Ghanaians and African Americans. You're going to have some growing pains because with wealth, when you have money, money is power. If you feel like you have power over people, become arrogant. You come here and buy a house. The condo I'm staying in is amazing. I got a rooftop pool in O2. It's a terrific tourist area, but all day long I hear roosters crowing. I look out the window and I see goats wandering off the property, go down the street, eat some grass, and wander back home. There's a couple of junkyards I'm looking out on. But that's part of the culture too, right? When you come here, you get in where you fit in, support the culture and bring value. If we bring value, they would welcome us as long as we don't just come with arrogance. As I said to my friends, I haven't had to worry about getting carjacked. I haven't had them tell me get out of the car for no reason. Do you have any drugs in your car? Where are you coming from? I know my rights, but I don't have to worry about that here. I don't have to worry about this space. There's a different kind of peace that comes from being here. And over time, people will embrace that peace.
A different kind of peace. You know, I talk to quite a few people and they say not wanting to return to America once you go to Africa is real.
You might not make my flight tomorrow night for real, Jack. It's a plane tomorrow early. Because they're going to be an empty seat. I told someone here, one day, I'm heading to the airport, and I ain't never coming back. It's just the way you feel, you know? Bob Marley's song, Rat Race. Oh, what a rat race is. When you're in America, your ass better be up at 8 o'clock. It's so hard to make it in America. We work constantly and tirelessly. American productivity is so high per worker. We produce so much utility for companies, and they don't want to pay. Think about how hard we work just to get ahead. Think about all the work you were doing in that congressional office for a little bit of money. We have low wages. And in America, I don't know why Americans don't understand how undervalued and underappreciated they are. Elon Musk ain't done shit. He has brilliant engineers working for him. He's no genius. Does he have vision? Can he see opportunity? Yes. But the engineers built the Tesla design. My point is, our contributions are undervalued in a way where if we're really going to make wealth, we have to understand. That's why, to me, whenever I talk to college students, entrepreneurship, think about how you can take your ideas and build something. Don't let somebody steal your best knowledge and have ownership of your intellectual property. You build it yourself and try to build wealth off of that. You know, as I think about what would make me not want to get on the plane. I don't want to go back to that bullshit. But at the end of the day, Justin, I got to make money, right? I got a company and clients. I got to go back and support those clients. But my long-term plan, you know this, because I know you're going to do it with me. We getting on that plane, brother, and we getting on the bus. Just like we going to the Million Man March. We getting on the bus, and we going to ride that bus from L.A. to D.C., and we ain't going to stay in the hotel. We going to get back on that damn bus, and we going back to L.A., right? One day, we going to get on that plane, and we going to be in Mozambique, South Africa, Rwanda, Liberia. You said something earlier about the ship, and I want you to know this. At W.B. Du Bois, the red, black, and green was everywhere. Marcus Garvey wanted us to have a homeland. He wanted us to come back and build something. In the Catch a Fire movie with Bob Marley, all he talks about is, I'm going to go to Africa. And he says, Bob, there's no infrastructure there. And then Bob says, we'll build it. And I thought it was so powerful. That's how I feel with what Marcus Garvey was trying to do. We're going to build it. We don't need to leverage their ingenuity and brilliance too. I'm 55 years old and a stopwatch running on my time in America. I'm selling all this shit. I'm selling it all. I'm selling the land because I don't need it. There's going to be a day, and that day can't come soon enough. I'm going to get on that plane and I'm going to be singing. They're going to be looking at me and I'm going to have my headphones on like I always do. And I'm going to be singing and they're not going to know what I'm singing about. But it's joy moving on to something real that I want to do. That's a dream, you know. Mama Africa.
Joe, we were talking about the flight to Rwanda and Mozambique and Africa as a homeland. I immediately drew parallels how, although we might not be fighting for a homeland, we are seeking a homeland like the Palestinian people. I'm curious about your international experience in Ghana. Have you run into any sort of politics or how what's going on around the world impacts your time?
You know what's interesting? Thank you for that question. I live and die by NBA basketball, brother. Every night I'm watching Knicks. I'm watching NBA basketball. It's the playoff time. Every day I'm waking up watching Morning Joe. I'm watching MSNBC and watching CNBC and watching CNN and watching the local news. I'm reading the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, browsing for information and articles. There's so much happening in Washington that you have to be aware of to be successful. Information is power. Knowledge is power. And you have to arm your mind with knowledge to succeed. We grind hard to gather that information. I've looked at my phone and browsed through some websites, but in terms of news and information, if I didn't have a business with clients that needed me to be aware of those things internationally, I haven't heard Donald Trump's miserable voice since I came here. I've not heard a commercial. Do you know what song I played last night? I played Nipsey Hussle, brother. FDT. It's FDT. People don't know it. You better look it up. It's a great song. That song moves me. Those lyrics were written in 2017 and is true and prophetic today as ever. If you think about what he's doing internationally to the economy and to people, they're trying to write our history, our perspectives, our narratives. They're taking exhibits out of the African American Museum of History and Culture. Who in the hell are you to decide what we should celebrate about us and our history? I don't want to hear that man's voice. This too shall pass, and we will be stronger for it when he's gone. If you haven't looked at the budget plan that this man put together, you better open your eyes and understand they are going to take away all housing assistance. Section 8. Only 1 in 4 families that need Section 8 housing rental assistance is able to get it. So what's going to happen to the people? Let me tell you, their focus is on us, but there are a lot of white people out in Appalachia using those programs. Don't tell me they don't have Section 8 in West Virginia. Don't tell me white people aren't using these services and benefits. This is the Southern strategy incarnate. We can see it. What did Atwater say? It's going to hurt us, but it's going to hurt them a whole lot more. One of the books I brought to read hypothesized that if you did not provide health care to Blacks, we would eventually die out. The entire health system was designed to prevent us from having access to the cost, the time to see a doctor. The entire system was set up that way. When I'm here in Ghana, I walk down the street, I see pharmacies everywhere. I see places you can walk in to get health care. You have money, you can get it. You want to get blood tests, blood work, pay for it. You can't cut the types of numbers they want to cut without getting to core programs that are going to affect everybody. Food safety. They want to take away California's ability to have their own standards for cars. What happened to states' rights? They want to take away California's rights because they're too progressive. And let me tell you how crazy these people are. The House Ways and Means Committee just passed a bill that would give Donald Trump the authority to override any regulation he chooses. Imagine what happened to our constitutional powers of Congress to make decisions. Congress passes the statute, agencies interpret the statute and implement it and craft regulations to regulate our society. The executive branch does not determine the policy, they implement the policy, right? These Republicans in Congress are basically saying they want to make him a king. We want to rule by edict. And this is the kind of change that I'm seeing, and it's going to take a long time to fix. Think about, they're going to make his 2017 tax cuts permanent. The Congressional Budget Office would have to score the bill, look at the cost of the economic impact over a 10-year window. They don't want the CBO to estimate the debt impact of these tax cuts. But you ask yourself, if you take a 50% reduction in compensation, what does that mean for your budget and economic livelihood? You would have to make changes to adapt. How can you cut taxes? The theory behind the tariffs is that they want to move us toward a consumption tax. We're going to pay more for everything we consume, and they want to get rid of the income tax altogether so rich people never have to pay taxes. You lull the people to sleep by raising the tariffs, raising the price on the goods, creeping, but you don't realize we don't have to pay taxes. What happens to the earned income tax credit? The earned income tax credit is the biggest economic event in poor families' lives. If you get rid of income tax and you don't have any more tax deductions, you don't write off your home mortgage interest deduction. You're writing off investments in your business. There's so many things that can be impacted by this, and people aren't seeing where this is headed. We have to wake up before it's too late. These sycophants on Capitol Hill will do whatever this man says. And he's thinking as a billionaire, what works best for me and my family.
And from what you're saying, it sounds like they're codifying the 1%. It's already been set, but they're trying to make it set in stone who the 1% are, what they have access to.
You cannot underestimate the impact of Donald Trump's father's economic success. This man was building projects throughout New York. You see big brick buildings in the projects? His father probably built them. This guy was a millionaire before he was 2 or 3 years old. He never worked hard for anything in his life. How can he appreciate what we go through? His commerce secretary was talking about that if his mother misses her Social Security check, she's going to be okay. His mother, Lutnick is his name. His mother has never had to live from check to check. She won't be impacted. Imagine if that check is the only thing. There are people, they get their food stamps, their family eats, and they're nourished for the first 2 weeks of the month. But the last 2 weeks, they're struggling to make ends meet. My point is people depend on that resource. When you've never had to struggle, you can't appreciate anything about it. The man said laziness is a trait inherent in Black people. This is what Donald Trump said. That's his view of us years ago. So we can't pretend that those things did not come out of his mouth and they're not part of his worldview. I'm glad I'm in Africa in a shithole country. When I see Black Republicans asking, what comes out of the shithole? What goes in the shithole? You're talking about the people, right? They're not worthy. And I think that's what we're seeing economically with these tariffs and how they're looking at the whole African continent.
Speaking of Africa, I get here they were considering removing all U.S. embassies. What is America doing in Africa? We don't need you, leave Africa. But diplomatically, what does this look like for a Black American trying to be an expatriate in those countries?
Well, you know, there's, as a tourist, as a citizen of the United States, anything could happen to me where I may need the embassy. I could get hit by a car, be injured, and flown back to the States for care. I could come here with my family and we could be at the beach and one of my children, God forbid, may drown in the ocean. As a business owner, the embassy is a pathway to building something in the economy here. They can provide assistance and guidance on the best ways to approach regulation in the country. The Department of Commerce and the embassy is an important economic engine. There's a lot of infrastructure. It builds wealth in the nation. Close all the embassies. All they're doing is opening the door for China and Russia. China is here. Russia is here. They're in Burkina Faso. Our ambivalence toward being engaged in this culture and these countries is going to harm us. They think it's going to harm the African people and that they don't bring any value. Donald Trump is trying to sign a mineral rights deal with Ukraine. Where on the face of the planet are there more natural resources and minerals than in Africa? And you're going to tell me you don't need an embassy there? You don't respect the people enough to have an ambassador there? It's undervalued, underestimated, and marginalized. Most people couldn't find Kenya. They couldn't find Ghana on a map. Even if you put a black star over the country, they'd be looking around, wouldn't know where it is. So that's why you can do these things, because people aren't paying attention, ambivalent to what's happening. It's unfortunate, but I'm awake. I'm here, and I hope more people come here with me and have a good time. We're going to live well when we come here and be successful. The mind is a powerful thing, and we can achieve anything we put our minds to. One thing I haven't broached, the educational system, that's not clear to me yet about colleges, universities, high school systems, standardized testing. I was blessed during my time at Morgan State grad school to interact with students from Rwanda, from Nigeria. Imagine you're taking a class and it's 7:30 p.m. my time, and there's a student in Nigeria live streaming at 1 a.m. learning how that knowledge and what they're trying to do in terms of growth, build their economy, build their knowledge base and advance their careers. Education is key to everything. What do they have for the populace? I need to understand that piece.
I want to ask you about the business sector. Having a business in the States and how we talked about opening one in Ghana, what does business prospect look like there? We have Black-owned businesses here in America, but let's say we started a movement of Black-owned businesses in Ghana. What would that look like? What kinds of things do they have? Don't they have? What kinds of things do you see as being innovative there?
This is one thing related to the embassy. Having an embassy means that the ambassador and all the workers have to have access to good, high quality food. One of the things I would love to do here is open a restaurant and bring some Southern cooking here, different flavors, different tastes. I think there's certainly opportunity to have a really good restaurant here. The two other businesses I've thought about here, let's be honest, women here love to have their nails done and look good. Self-care is important here. So I think any of those businesses, eyelashes, nails, esthetician, hair, braiding, all those things are businesses. I wouldn't do them, but I might own a studio and hire folks to manage it. My focus is on businesses that have low barriers to market entry. So I don't want to spend a whole, like a gentleman was suggesting to me, well, why don't you buy some land and build a building? I'm thinking, that's going to take me 18 months to buy the land, build the building, and sell it. I'd rather get a vacant lot with ingress and egress and have high pressure washers to wash cars. You know, detailing here, especially when you're going down dirt roads, it matters to have a clean car. A lot of wealthy people. You see the Lexus, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, G-Wagons. People want to have something nice, have it clean. So I'm thinking that the car wash might be the first business I open because there's low barriers to market entry. I think it's a quick cash business, access to water, electricity, and a good location where it's going to be a lot of traffic. But the brother here told me, wherever you put it, people are going to come because they want to get the cars clean. Another brother who teaches at Morgan State, his family's from Ethiopia, he was telling me that for $10,000 in cash, you can launch a business. $10,000 US, you can launch a business here and be successful. He said $10,000. That's what he told me. He said, any kind of business. At the end of the day, one of the challenges is going to be competition, which is you want to offer a better product at a better price. You got to beat the competition. So one of the things you got to do is look for products that they're already selling, but selling in a different way. I mentioned the movie theater. They were only selling popcorn and soda. They didn't have chicken nuggets. They didn't have chicken tenders. They didn't have a slushie machine. They didn't have video games. There's a whole lot of things you could add to that experience, generate revenue. The cost of labor is very low here. Most Ghanaians, at least a lot of the ones I've encountered, they work all day for 100 to 200 CDs, $6 to $12. When I give them $100 tip, it means something. They smile and look at me. So the $10,000 number to me is going to cover a few things. Your inventory, whatever you're going to sell. You can rent your location and rent these shops in there, 800 CDs, 1,000 CDs a month, 2,000 CDs a month. It's not that expensive to rent a place. You can start a business, launch a business. You have to do your due diligence to study the neighborhoods and communities. Every community is different. Every consumer is different, offer something unique. That's part of the innovation we as Americans can bring to Africa, to Ghana.
Joe, talking to you, the last time we talked, you told me about the car wash. I was already starting to think, how can I make a little bread off of them too? One thing I did think of, what I really want to do is, I'm a big thrifter. I have tons of clothes. I want to bring them, and they're nice. Playboy, Nike, it's like these stuff your son likes to wear. I want to have a secondhand thrift store. It's a curated experience. I put together pieces and outfits. You come in, it's an art gallery in the front. You have to know the code to go in the back to shop. I have the expensive pieces in the front with the art. I'm pouring you drinks. There's a little bar, hospitality. But yeah, I want to come over there and find a shop and sell this stuff. It just seems so easy and viable to do.
You drive down roads and see boutiques, clothes, upscale boutiques, men's suits. I tell you something you would never see in America. When I went up to the windows and looked in to some of the clothing stores, I was surprised there was dust on the clothes and on the shelves. Because once again, you and I know everything. There's so many ways you subtly communicate value. I was just surprised to see. The point I wanted to make is about your clothes and unique style. Location is critical. I think you have to focus on the roadways and the boutiques. I've seen a lot of stores where I want to stop and go in. I think that unique style is what we bring to the table. We bring American style, American vision of fashion, cater to the taste. And sometimes you just have to, I haven't seen anybody here wearing a seersucker suit, but if I put one on and wear one, somebody might say, whoa, look at that. Linen suit. My tailor's making me 2 business suits. I get my suit.
One of my friends, her brother was there with the football players you were with. He plays for, I want to say he plays for the Rams.
Smith, the Darius brother. It was so easy going, brother. I've flown 5,000 miles from home. I walk into a restaurant to have breakfast, and here comes an NFL player, cool, casual, calm. Brother was humble. Hey, brother, what's happening? Good to see you, man. Yes, because I knew because of his size and his muscles and his stature. When he introduced himself, I was shocked. The tailor was measuring him for a suit for a captain. And I said, if he could make the Darius a captain, bitch, he could make me one, the tailor. But the waiter went over and told Zadarius, and Zadarius walked over to me to say hello. Man, that's a blessing any way you look at it. I had one linen captain made, the ceremonial, vibrant colors, and another one like a business suit. Let me tell you, I wear it in DC all the time. When I got there today, he said, what color? It's like a brown, a linen, a beige linen captain. He's making me a traditional American classic executive business suit. I gave him a suit I paid $1,400 for, and he's trying to replicate it. I picked out the fabrics, and I can't wait to wear them. We went over all the specifications of what style works best in America. A 2-inch cuff, the length of the pant to the top of your shoes, a break in the pant leg in the front, pleats in the front of the pants, the lining of the suit, the padding, the pockets, the buttons. I explained to him, I said, brother, when you get this suit, if you can make this suit, you're going to have margin. The 2 captains I bought, he charged me 2,800 CDs for CDs. I bought 2 tailored captains for 2,800 CDs. If he can do anything similar, if he can make a business suit, we have $400 to cover our back end for the suit, and I sell it for $800. We double our money. Now, what am I not thinking about? How the tariffs could affect this. All right, that's changed everything. But for now, I'm going to wear those suits and I'll be the billboard. I'll tell everybody I see.
Joe, what I thought of is, if America closes, why not go to Dubai and market them? Get the Americans there. It's a global market. That's really why I really want to get to Ghana, because when I start the business in Africa, Dubai is the next step. The headquarters will be in Dubai. I'm ready, Joe. I make my own hair care products, my own hair oil masks for my hair. I'm very educated. I research what makes your hair grow, what stimulates the follicles, and I make my oils and let them sit on the windowsill for 4 weeks and macerate. When you mentioned braiding, Africans can braid. What I don't find is they can really care for your hair. I want to come over and open a salon. What makes it different is we care for your hair, natural, organic products and oils. It's not just that you get your hair braided tight to your scalp. We're going to put the mask on, massage it, oil it, part it. Ambiance, American exceptionalism excels on hospitality and creating ambiance for businesses.
Yeah, that value paradigm is critical, right? You're giving them something they've had their entire lives, but maybe that product had never been delivered that way. Due diligence of products you're bringing and how that will change the texture of the hair. But the challenge with that business is you have to target the select market to get the value that you need, right? You're going to be interacting with government officials, their wives. You want to talk to a lot of ministers. You want to talk to people who are wealthy and want to be catered to in the business can thrive and be very successful, right? It's all about segmentation of the market. You're going to be targeting different segments of the market for your services. The opportunity is there. I think you have to hear and create the vision. Observe, come here and create the vision, right? Once you get here and you're going into the malls, you're seeing people, the women, the shoes. We need a 9 West. We need high heel shoes. We need some pumps. We need the women's shoe wear. I think that's an opportunity.
Joe, it's crazy you say that, because I know a shoe cobbler I met in Amalfi, Italy. This man cobbled shoes for Ralph Lauren, like the actual Ralph Lauren. I feel like I'm so blessed. I've come across so many things in places. I can sell one thing about myself. It's that I can bring the idea together. Like, I want to go to Italy, get Italian leather shoes, come to Ghana and sell them to government officials and diplomats.
People don't realize what I'm taking pictures of. They don't see what my eye is seeing. I'm snapping all kinds of, I can't wait to show you. There's hundreds of pictures. I can't wait to send them to you and digest them.